Wilson has never missed a start in his NFL career and plans on continuing that streak against the Jets on Sunday. Even though he's dealing with a sprained left knee, Ryan Fitzpatrick, coming off the worst performance of his career. He threw a career-worst 6 interceptions and also lost 2 fumbles and a loss to the Chiefs. Eric Decker was also injured in that game with a shoulder injury. His status is still in question. Since 1995, listen to the stat, West Coast teams have only won 35% of early games played in the Eastern time zone. Very interesting. The odds stacked against them there. Damian Woody still here with us. So what do you think? Can Seattle get it done, that early game in East Rutherford, traveling east?
Absolutely. Listen, this is not anything that's foreign to them. They did it last year against the Baltimore Ravens, albeit with Joe Flacco out with a season-ending injury. Listen, here's the one thing that you have to know about Seattle. They have the #1 defense. And the last time I checked, you can pack up that defense going rain, sleet, hail, snow, time zone. It travels everywhere. So you can say, oh, the Seahawks are playing basically at 10 a.m. in the morning, but it doesn't matter because with that defense, it's going to keep you in every game. And last time I checked, they got Russell Wilson at quarterback. So they can absolutely win this 1 o'clock game in East Rutherford.
Yes, they can. They can win the game. In fact, I expect them to win the game. What quiet is kept, there's a dynasty going on in Seattle right now. And in football, like Stephen A's Steelers had a dynasty where they won in 2 in a row and then 2 more. So very quickly they had 4 championships. That never happened before or since. It's, in the Super Bowl era. That doesn't happen. Mostly dynasties in the NFL. An extreme example is the Patriots. They don't win back-to-back-to-back championships, but they're always making playoff runs. They win some Super Bowls, and they're always a top 2 or 3 team in the AFC. Like, the Broncos were better than them last year. I think the Broncos are better than them this year. But I would still say that that Belichick has got his dynasty still going, even though there are kind of interruptions in competition. Same thing with Seattle. You got Carolina last year. You had the Niners pushing them before that, and sometimes getting past them, once getting past them. But this is the Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, Seattle dynastic era in the NFC. Even last year, they were dangerous in the playoffs. So you talk about that level team. Russell Wilson's going to play. They're 5 out of their last 6 on the road. They are 5-1 in their last 6 games against AFC East teams. Fitzpatrick seems to revert to more kind of normal form for him throughout his career where he's mistake-prone. He will throw picks. And you got a Seattle secondary, while it's very good, it's second in the league, fewest points allowed, but it doesn't have a pick yet. Well, that's not going to continue. There's going to be what's called regression to the mean. If you continually play good defense, you're going to come away with some. I have every reason to believe, in spite of the stat you gave, Molly, that Seattle not only has a chance to win, they will win this game against the Jets.
Well, Damian Woody, I don't know if you know this or not, but Max is an extremely intelligent and sophisticated individual whose vocabulary is far more expansive than mine, yours, and most other people. So when he says the word dynasty, even though we predict it, it's something that we think we know, I still felt the need to look it up in the dictionary because Lord knows what different definition Max will find. And sure enough, he's managed to pull it off because last time I checked, a sequence of rulers or whatever, that's one of the definitions of a dynasty. So essentially it implies that you're #1. Well, Seattle has been to the playoffs the last 4 years. They've only finished as a champion once. They lost another Super Bowl, and they have 2 divisional playoff losses.
Sounds
but
like
somehow that's Max's definition of a dynasty.
The NFL,
Good luck with that. Makes no sense to me. Makes no sense to me.
Hold on, 2 Super Bowl appearances in 4 years and a win?
Well, listen, there can only be 1 dynasty. And if there's going to be 1 dynasty, I would give it to the Patriots before I give it to Seattle.
Can't you say they're competing NFC dynasty versus AFC dynasty?
No. There's 1 dynasty. When it's a dynasty, it's 1. One per one. There can't be multiple, okay? Not in the same sport, okay? So here's the point. It doesn't apply here. But the point that I'm trying to make is this. I got the Jets winning this game. I got the Jets winning this game against the #2 ranked overall defense, #1 in yards allowed, #2 against the pass. It's formidable and legit and big time as Seattle's defense is. Russell Wilson having those injuries to both legs. A knee on one leg, I think an ankle on the other, or a high sprain. I'm concerned about his mobility. I've been concerned about their offense all season long. And I think after that debacle of a performance by Ryan Fitzpatrick last week where he was god-awful, he's only completing 55% of his passes right now. He's got three touchdowns and 7 interceptions on the season. I just think that he's got to make amends for that. I love the fact that Darrelle Revis is on the record saying this is a must-win, that the players are adopting that mentality, and it's that it's on their home turf. Had they had to travel, there's no way I would have picked them. But because it's at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, because of the debacle that they had last season, because there's such a level of urgency attached to this particular week, as formidable and as big time as Seattle's defense is, I'm inclined to go with the Jets this week.
By the way, I said no, they haven't come away with the ball. They have one takeaway, the Seattle defense. But if you're the second in points, if you're among the top 3 teams against the pass, that's going to change. You're going to come away with the ball more often. I mean, that's a very good. Even last year, which wasn't their year, and they have a porous offensive line. Obviously, it's one of the reasons that Russell Wilson's hurt right now. Even with those deficiencies, Seattle's going to win more games than they lose every year. They're going to make the playoffs. They'll probably make a run once they get there. And that's been the opposite of the Jets with the chips on the line last year. Fitzpatrick had to win one game. That he had one of his worst games of the season. He's coming off the worst game of the season for him so far. And now he's facing this secondary, even with the advantages in time travel in terms of going west to east for Seattle. I still like Seattle.
Listen, if I was a betting man, I'm not betting on the. Why would I bet on Fitzpatrick? I didn't say Fitzpatrick. I said Pick Patrick, because that's what the last memory I have burned in my head was seeing 6 picks in Arrowhead Stadium. And you're going against one of the best, maybe the best defense in the National Football League.
Not pick 6. 6 picks.
6 picks.
And he might not have Decker.
Listen, I hope they win, because, listen, I played for the Jets. I think people know how I feel about the Jets, but I'm not. No, I'm rolling with Seattle.
All right.
Okay. See y'all Sunday on Monday.
Okay.
And they are an NFC dynasty, Stephen A. I hate to tell you.
Let's not go back there for that debatable subject. We will discuss this all on Monday. Seattle and that traveling defense, they're favored by 2.5 in Jersey. Damien, always good to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Come back again soon.
Next time, wear a tie when I come on set. When I come on set, man, wear a tie.
He said, put some respect on your clothes.
You don't tell me what to wear.
Royalty right now. Put a tie on.
Royalty. What royalty?
You better put some respect on my name.
You need to put some respect here. You are a guest in this house,
man. You knew I was coming, so you had to be on. You had to be remote. I see how it is.
To paraphrase Wu-Tang, he said, "Respect your neck." Stephen A. Put a tie on.
Don't come with that bright yellow tie blinding our viewers next time. You better change that tie.
Coming up next, the Cowboys are expected to be without Dez Bryant this weekend against the 49ers. But is it a must-win for America's team? I will explain after the break. Will Kane will join us for that conversation.
First Take is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And Nissan, innovation that excites.
You know, you guys saw that. We lost to just about every element of that matchup. They outcoached us. They outplayed us. They were better fundamentally, tackling and so forth.
Blaze pumping. He is floating it, and it's complete to Huff at the 50, the 45. He's on his feet at the 30, the 20. Cuts back at the 10, the 5. He is in. Darren Sproles.
We got our ass kicked. I'll simply say it like that.
We got work to do, obviously, as we come here with one agenda, and that's to play winning football, and obviously we didn't do that today.
The Steelers are coming off a bad loss to the Eagles in Philly last Sunday, but their offense getting a big boost this weekend. Le'Veon Bell returns from his 3-game suspension. Stephen A., what do you expect from the Steelers with Bell returning?
Well, first of all, I expect the running game to return. D'Angelo Williams has struggled at least the last couple of weeks or so because he is 33 years of age and he's had to carry a hefty workload. But I expect the Steelers defense to look a little bit better. Alex Smith doesn't make a lot of mistakes, but he's not a game changer per se, even though he has the potential to do a lot of different things. In the end, what it comes down to is that the Steelers were an absolute embarrassment last week. I was incredibly ashamed of what I saw against the Philadelphia Eagles. They should have been ashamed of themselves. and they should come out ready to play football this week because as far as I'm concerned, they've had 2 weeks off because they certainly didn't show up last week. It was just a disgraceful performance, maybe the worst performance I ever saw by this team in the Mike Tomlin era. I think they know it. I think everybody else knows it, and we'll see what happens. Marcus Peters is no joke for Kansas City. Antonio Brown and others should have their work cut out for them. Marcus Wheaton doesn't need to be dropping 3 passes like he did before. He needs to do better and help out Antonio Brown. We'll see what happens, but Le'Veon Bell is definitely going to be an upgrade, if for no other reason, not just because he's gifted, but because he brings fresh legs, per se, to the equation, and they desperately need that from the running back spot, as well as catching passes out of the backfield. I think it helps, and I think as a result, the Steelers win this game.
Chiefs are just a good team, and I love this game, and it's tempting to take them against the Steelers the way the Steelers looked last week, and given what the Chiefs bring to the table. However, I think, Stephen A., as you pointed out, they were humiliated, the Steelers were. Yes, at Philly, but still in an all-Pennsylvania rivalry-type game, they were humiliated. They're coming home. They have the best running back in the game, and apologies to Adrian Peterson, even before his weak numbers so far this year, if you want to blame the Minnesota offensive line. But when Le'Veon Bell over the last several seasons has been on the field, I can't believe anyone would argue another running back over him. He is clearly the best running back in the game, all-around running back in the game. You're getting that guy back after you've been humiliated in a rivalry game, a high-profile game because the quality of your opponent. I love this matchup. I think the Steelers win in an overtime-type game. It goes down to the wire, maybe overtime, and I think the Steelers pull it out. I think Le'Veon Bell is a big boost for them.
Well, I hope he is, because he needs to be. He's got a lot of making up to do, because remember, even though he's coming back, it's not like he was coming back from injury. He got injured last year, missed the second half of the season because of it. He always seems to get injured against Cincinnati because of their low blow, the low blows that they throw in his direction in some fashion. But in this particular game, he's been out for the first 3 games of the season because he was suspended, weed issues and beyond. So he's got some making up to do. He's got to be dependable. He's got to be somebody that the Steelers can rely upon, because a legitimate argument could be made is that the Steelers have underachieved in the years that he's been there, because this wasn't the first time he's been suspended. So he's got to step up to the plate and do everything that he can to make amends. And he clearly has the talent to do so, and I think he'll put it off.
Their defense has got to get a lot better. Last year it's like, well, if they have a bend but don't break defense and they can stay healthy on offense, maybe they could go all the way. It didn't happen. They couldn't stay healthy on offense. Still really good. And the defense wasn't enough to overcome that. This year they showed improvement early against the run, and you had reason to believe, boy, this Pittsburgh defense is coming around, and then it was nowhere to be seen against Philadelphia last week. So that's the big if there is, does the Steelers defense show up against the Chiefs? Assuming it's a bend but don't break style defense, I think they can win this game.
After last weekend, they're certainly going to be focused, and we know Le'Veon Bell have fresh legs. But I want to get to another subject. We asked you guys earlier in the show if you are buying Dez Bryant's excuse. Max and I were buying it. The results are in. America is with Stephen A. 69% say no, not buying Dez's excuse. Stephen A., your thoughts?
Well, like I said, I'm not judging him harshly or whatever. My reason for not buying it is that it's still unacceptable. It's only acceptable in the world of Jason Garrett, because even though you might say something to reprimand him, at the end of the day, you ain't going to really do anything, because no one has any reason to fear Jason Garrett, because they consider him a puppet for Jerry Jones. That's really what this comes down to, and they need a firm hand at the head coaching position.
It's not an issue of me buying the excuse. It's an immature decision he made. It's a bad decision. He should make better decisions. But does it reflect the right stuff about Dez Bryant? Is that the kind of guy you want on your squad? I think the answer is yes. He'll do anything, including avoiding MRIs, whatever, to stay on the field, for his teammates and his team. You want that guy.
And that's also where I agreed with you, not the actual buying it part, but what you just explained.